Welcome back to Base Camp, WNC. Well, I just posted a video showing you installing one of these things at a rebuild job. And after Heritage Life Skills we had in April, I've got a pile of these jobs coming up. This video right here, I'm going to show you how to build these water collecting collars from 55-gallon food grade drums. Save yourself at least $100 or more on doing it. And then we're going to show you a couple other installations and different types of settings and whatnot. So we're going to take you along for this thing right here, and we're going to show you how to build this thing and save yourself some money. Well, I wanted to show you how we make the spring head dams, and there is a company that sells them, but for $10 or $15, most of the time it's $10 for a closed top food grade drum, $15 for an open top one. I just make them this way. They're about 12 inches high, and it's almost 6 foot long instead of 4 foot. But if you want to know how to draw the lines on them, what we do is you can take a table and set it down, cut the block of wood the length you want, and just follow it around with a magic marker, or follow it around at the top right here. I myself prefer just to go ahead and use a table saw and cut it off on a table saw. And that's actually what we're going to do to this thing. This actually had vinegar in it. There's a guy here in the mountains up here that makes his own brand of hot sauce. So all these are food grade barrels, but they did have a food product in them that you have to be careful of, because of course this dam wall is going to be collecting your spring water. But I wanted to show you how you can save. Commercially, they're about $125 for the dam wall. You can make this out of a $10 drum and about $15 worth of fittings from the big box store or Ace Hardware. I'll show you how you do all that, but right now we're going to cut these rings out on a table saw, and what we're going to end up with is about a 5 1/4 inch piece down here you can use for a feed bowl or a water bowl, and you're going to end up with the same thing on the top end of the drum and the 2 rings in the middle. So let me go ahead and cut this thing out, and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, working here today by myself, and I don't have a tripod, what we ended up doing is, of course I can't hold the phone and do it, but there it is. We cut a 5 1/4 inch piece off the bottom. We're going to cut a 5 1/4 inch off the top, and then we'll split that one down the middle. Like I said, if you draw a line, you can cut it with a saber saw or a skill saw or a hand saw, whatever you got, but if you got a table saw, it makes it handy. Well, there it is. As I said, we'll cut it in 4 pieces because I need 2 rings. If you only wanted 1 for your farm, it could be a little bit better. But what you end up with is, on that one there, of course, you got the 2 bung holes in the drum top. And then on the bottom end, you have a smooth one. Sometimes we cut them things about 8 inches tall and use them for feed buckets or vegetable collecting buckets. Drill 2 holes in it, put a rope in it, and drag it up and down the garden picking squash and all. So we're going to go ahead and split these 2 rings to make collars out of them, and then we'll get ready to start drilling them things and show you what else you need to buy at the big box store. Well, here's the rings. We got one there, we got one right here, and this is just center of the ring. We drew a line. We've got one down here 2 1/2 inches from the center, 1 2 inches and 1 2 1/2, and that's just to give us a little bit of different depth on it. You'll see this when we go and install it. One end will have about 3 1/2 inches, one will have about 4 1/2 inches to the ground. It just gives you a little bit deeper place to dig it. What I've got is a hole saw here, and this thing measures 1 3/4 inches. And we have a couple of these bulkhead fittings. We're going to drill them. I'm going to drill them, put them in, and I'll show you what it looks like when we get done. Well, here it is. This is the ring. You can see it. We're getting rain and sunshine and carrying on here today, but here's one bulkhead fitting here in the bottom. We got this one to put in, and this is all it really is. This is what they call a square. It's a bulkhead fitting. It's threaded on the inside and the outside, and this will just come from the back to the front. It's got an O-ring on the back, then it's got a plastic washer on this side to make it slick to spin. And then this screws on. And the only funny thing is it actually screws on counterclockwise. We'll screw that one on, and I'll show you what this thing will look like completely assembled and ready to go. Well, there it is with both bulkhead fittings in it. And this is one that I have from a past job. It's used. And this is just a piece of 1-inch pipe with a cap on one end, male adapter on the other, and a whole bunch of 5/16 holes drilled in it. It really doesn't matter. They're on both sides. And this one in the spring head will actually screw in the bottom hole. And when you do this, the hole's right there. Kind of want the holes sitting sideways. You don't want them up or down. And then the overflow hole, which would be the top, we just use a smaller one. It can be the same size, really doesn't matter, same thing. Cap on one end, fitting on the other. Screw it in, have the hole sideways. And then down here, this is the outside. This would be where your spring water would normally run out of the bottom one. And we just screw a poly adapter because we're going to run down the hill with black poly pipe. And then the uphill one gets this little contraption on it. And this is what everybody pretty much used. Let me stop and screw that in for you. Well, with this thing put together, is what it's going to look like. This is the outside. Like I said, the bottom one, when we put this thing in the spring, I'll show you, this is where your spring water is normally going to be coming out. When the water gets high enough, springtime or something like that, if it's flowing better, it'll come out. The top one will be the overflow pipe, and it goes on down the hill, returning it to the spring or whatever. The only thing they have done commercially, and a bunch of people do, is they put this tube on this thing. And this is really, if you want to pour bleach down this hole to ever sanitize your spring head. Of course, the only problem I have with that, and I'll show you when we do the spring, I like doing something a little bit different, is that, of course, if the water's coming out of the spring head and flowing, overflowing, you're never going to get any bleach in it. If you want to get it back in, we build a bar with holes in it and put it back up in the spring to actually sanitize the spring and let it flow completely through. So this one right here, counting the drum and everything else to build this thing, is about $35. Commercially, they're available for about $125. So you can save about 90 bucks building this thing. And the next one we're going to show you, instead of using the $10 bulkhead fittings, we just use some threaded couplings and a male adapter. I'll show you how to do that. And that whole thing's about 20 bucks to build, so you save some more money there. Like I said, this is all on the premise of my channel now. It's going to be homesteading and prepping for the other 99%, so you'll be able to save about $110 on building it the other way. It's not that much. We'll get this other one drilled with some holes, and I'll show you how that one goes. Well, here's the other ring, and instead of using the bulkhead fittings, what we're going to have here is basically this right here. This is a 1-inch threaded coupling, so we're still using 1-inch fittings. And basically the male adapter from the end sticks through this end. We put an O-ring on it, and we screw the coupling on the other side. So this ring right here will cost about $6 worth of fittings, to where the other one with the bulkhead fittings right there, that ring, everything will cost you about $35. So you're saving about $15 there on this one. No big thing, but it all adds up after a while. And I'm going to take you down next. We're going to be putting it in the spring head. We're going to show you how this thing works. And a couple other little things you can do by turning it over. Like I said, this one here, you got about 3.5 inches between here and the ground. Here you have about 4.5 inches. And it just depends on burying it in a spring head. If you're digging in dirt, you might want that other 1.5 inches to be able to bury it in. You just turn it upside down. It's no big thing. But I'll show you down there when we're putting it in. We'll show you how to do the my chlorinator, the way I like to put it, in the back end of the spring, and I'll set the camera down, set this thing together, and let you know what this one looks like. Well, here's basically what it's going to look like. And of course, we're going to use black poly pipe from here down. This will be the outflow headed to the cistern. This one's the overflow that would probably just head into the spring, into the creek. And this is basically what it's going to look like. This one here, I just stuck the little chlorinator on the inside. And like I said, the bottom one's your collection. That will be going into your cistern. The top one right here will be the overflow. This will make a little bit more sense. It stops raining around here and we get down the spring head and we stick it in, and I'll show you how it looks. We've got about 600 and some foot of pipe. We ordered a 500-foot roll of black poly pipe, which is just a little bit cheaper. You don't have to have the bends and the connections, so we got a 500-foot piece of pipe up the side of the hill, which is always fun. But we'll take, next thing is we'll start digging the spring head in and put these, show you putting the walls up, and let the water flow for a while, and we'll start laying pipe, and we'll get the spring working all the way to the cistern. Well, as usual, we're about running over on time. The next project we'll also be doing is building spring boxes that'll cost you about $15 instead of paying about $150. But we're going to take this thing up the hill when it stops raining and pouring down rain. But as usual, like it, share it, tell your friends about it. We're getting huge, boy. We're fast approaching 375 subscribers, so we're really getting there. But we're going to keep bringing you these projects and be able to save money for doing the premise of homesteading and prepping for the other 99%. Thank you.